Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am here with my weekly wrap-up. This wrap-up is basically going to close out the end of my April reads and then the first few days of May, which was the start of the Mafia Romance Readathon, so I will have some Mafia books to go over. But let's go ahead and get started with my weekly reads. Okay guys, so this week has been a pretty good week. I got 7 books read, so that's pretty good. A book a day, which I'm trying to get back to here because I have been kind of not reading as good these last couple weeks, I feel like, but that's just, how I've been feeling. I don't know, I got kind of slumpish a little bit too, having a hard time physically reading. So I was previously reading a lot more audiobooks, which again, I still have quite a bit of audiobooks here because I have my ALCs. And then also I was trying to pick up some more audiobooks for the Mafia Readathon because, just so I could try and get through some more. So I think I only have like 3 Mafia books at the end here to talk about. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to really focus on historical romance yet for the Ever After-thon that I'm also part of in May. Because this one is the Mafia one is only 10 days. And so I want to get as much of that done as I can at the beginning. And then I will really focus on the Ever After-thon stuff. But I really want to get to, my Ever After-thon TBR. I have way too many, historical romances I need to get to. So, the stress is real this month. I have so much to get to. So, anyways, let's stop delaying this. Let's get to my reads this last week. So, the first book that I started this last week was an ALC, and this was Play It Off by Monica Murphy. This is the second book in the Kings of Campus series. I read the first one and I really enjoyed it. It was my first time reading Monica Murphy, and so I wanted to pick up this one. This one is between Gavin and Sienna, and this is, again, it's college football. Sienna, we were kind of teased about Gavin and Sienna because you could tell, Sienna was, really crushing on him, and you didn't really know what happened between them. You could tell something was going on there. And so now we finally get their romance, and I guess not finally, it's only the second book, but it was teased in the first book a bit. So Gavin is actually, her brother is one of the football players on this team. She's part of this pretty close-knit friend group. That's one thing I really did like about that first book was all the different characters on the football team. I liked this group of friends. There was certain few of them that lived together and everything. So she's part of this friend group, and she has been crushing on Gavin. He is the quarterback of the team for a few years. This book takes us back to her freshman year, and her and Gavin kind of have run into each other this night when she's drinking. She's pretty drunk. He takes her back to her place, and she thinks that she's been crushing on him already, but her brother is part of this team, and he's one of her brother's best friends. So it's always kind of been never gonna happen between them in this. But when they're back at her place, he walks her up to her room, and they end up starting to mess around, but her roommate interrupts it. And so that kind of ended things, and they never really discussed it or talked about it again. And so I think it's their senior year, I believe, senior year. It's been a few years, a couple years, and they're stuck in this, they're in the same friend group. He's her brother's best friend. And so they just kind of obviously have this kind of attraction or tension, but they've never addressed it. And now it's kind of getting to the point where they finally actually do discuss it. And you kind of learn that she thought Gavin wasn't into her and he regretted what happened. Really, Gavin thought he was taking advantage of her and felt really bad about what had happened. And he, kind of backed off. Now, when they finally discuss this, they realize they've both been mutually pining after each other these last couple of years, but they don't want to ruin things with bring it up. So they kind of have a secret relationship. Before they start to kind of have the secret relationship, there's a guy that she was trying to go out on a date with, trying to move on from her obsession and crushing on Gavin. That's one thing I didn't really like about this. This guy was like a perfect, sweet, nice guy. And then she goes on one date with him and he becomes like totally psycho and stalkerish. And I felt like that didn't even get like closed off. Even like that storyline just kind of went away. And so I didn't even think it needed to be in it if we were going to not have anything happen with it. But anyways, that was like my only like complaint really. This was really cute. It was sweet. I loved Gavin. They were really fun together. I love this group of friends. So it's pretty low angst, you know, sweet kind of college football type of romance. So this one, I did get the ALC of this. So it was narrated by Avery, I think it's Cerise is how you say her last name, and Victor Kiabas. I'm probably butchering that. But anyways, that was the first time listening to him, I think. And so I really enjoyed the audiobook. It was a quick, easy read. And so I ended up giving this one 4 stars and 2.5 chilies. Okay. So on to one that was my most anticipated read. And it was tough for me because I read Taming the Heart by Elliott Rose, and this is the 3rd book in the Crimson Ridge series. The first book, Chasing the Wild, I loved. It was the ex-boyfriend's dad. It was so angsty and like slow burn, and I was just dying for those two to get together, and I loved it. The second one was okay. It was good. It was like, I didn't have huge complaints about it, but it didn't blow me away or anything. And this one really let me down. I was very frustrated with this. This actually took me a few days to get through. So I think I posted about it like after it had already released, when I usually try to do it the day of the release, but I was behind in my arcs and it just really took me a while to get through it because it is pretty long for what the book is. So what this book is about is Beau and Sage, and Sage is the best friend to the heroine from the first book, and she is actually coming to Crimson Ridge to help out Beau with his new ranch. Beau is a retired bull rider, and he is retiring and wants to run this ranch. And so it's just starting out, and so he needs some help. His sister ends up hiring her, so she never really met Beau or anything. And she's going to be kind of like the PR person. She's going to help set up all these things to kind of get, you know, traction for this ranch, get attention, get people involved and all that kind of stuff. What ends up happening at the beginning of this, her and Beau have kind of like a meet cute that's really kind of crazy with like her sex toys falling out of her thing. Sage was like the over-the-top, brash, like ballsy, like I say whatever I think, I don't have a filter type of heroine. So she was kind of like a little much for me. But I went with it. That didn't like kill it for me or anything. But they interact, and then she sees the wedding ring. Like, they're both kind of flirting, and she sees the wedding ring, and she's like, oh, never mind, you know? So then when she ends up coming a couple years, I think it's like a year later, I can't remember the time frame, but she comes to the ranch, and he's the one that picks her up because his sister couldn't do it. And she's just like, oh my God, this is that guy. And she's actually going to be living on the ranch for the summer while they're getting things up and running for her to help out with the PR. And she's got other side jobs in Crimson Ridge as well. And then she's near her best friend. So she's really attracted to him. He's really attracted to her, but he's married. Well, the thing is, he's kind of forced in this, well, he's basically forced in this marriage. He married this country star, you know, up and coming chick, and she basically cheated on him pretty fast. They weren't living together anymore. They didn't really have a marriage, but he was kind of forced to stay in this marriage because of like, she needs it for her image and all this kind of stuff. And then she basically kind of blackmails him that like she could take his ranch or whatever if he ends things with her. So he's finally at the spot where they're going to finally get divorced. It's supposed to be like a couple months he's going to get divorced. So he has to really try and stay away from Sage. So they have this crazy attraction and they can't stay away from each other. And then it's okay, let's just do it one time. And then of course it's not going to be the one time. And then it's like, oh, but you're married. And he's like, I can't do this. I'm married. The amount of repetitive times I had to hear, oh, but I'm married. I can't do this. I'm married. Oh, you're married. It was getting really old. So, okay, I'm just going to go into my issues with this because I really felt like this was way too focused on the sexual attraction. I literally never felt an emotional connection between them. They never talk about anything intimate, have sweet moments together. It's all about how hot Bo is, how hot she is, and her it's just sexualizing him. And it was just all in your face about how sexy they are and how attracted to each other they are. That was literally the book. And now it's just full of sex and spicy times. And that's where I'm getting over it, because literally this book was 150 pages too long. It had so many repetitive sex scenes in it, and just sex scene after sex scene where I was skimming. And I just was over it. Like, I wanted more from this. Like, I didn't want it to just be like them about their sexual attraction to each other. So that was a big hang up for me. And then also his reason for staying in this marriage and letting her blackmail him. Like, he could have fought this and done it if he really wanted to. Like, I thought his reason for staying in this marriage was pretty weak. And then it was just leading to the drama with her. And then her also being like insecure about him and his wife, even though he's not with her. She doesn't live with him. She randomly shows up, and then she gets all insecure. It's like, this chick hasn't been around for years. Trust the man. So I had a lot of issues with this. And then we have a third act breakup that was stupid. And then a time jump. And the time jump pissed me off because it was literally like Sage up and leaving, and then like a year later and him coming for her, which really she should be the one begging him to take her back. But I was just so frustrated with this. I had a lot of issues with it, and I am excited for the next one because we're not supposed to say who the hero is because it's supposed to be a big reveal. It's pretty obvious who the hero is going to be. If you've read these books, you probably already know and you've guessed it by now, but I am excited for that one. I do want that book, but I just want a little bit more than just repetitive sex and then a sexual attraction. Like, I want more. The first one had a lot of sexual attraction, but like angst and them getting to know each other and falling for each other. It took a while for them to have sex. So I liked that so much more. Anyways, I'm harping on this and I feel bad, but it was pretty disappointing. So, usually with me with an arc, I'll round it up a bit. And I didn't really round it up to the 4 stars on Goodreads. I rated it 3.5. And I think that was me being pretty kind considering all the issues that I had with it. But because it was an arc, I decided to give it the 3.5. I was really disappointed with this one. So anyways, that was 3.5. And then it was 4 chilies. There was a lot of spice in this, toys, butt stuff, lots of stuff going on. But that's pretty much all it was their sexual connection. And so that's where my issues came from. So anyways, that was like a big chunk of like me trying to get through that book. The first half of this week was difficult for me. Okay, so on to the next one. I listened to an ALC, and this was Ruined Vows by Stasia Black. Now, this is the first time I've ever read this author, and at first I was going to get upset by this one because it was really spicy and they got together really fast in it, but she did so much more with their emotional connection and other issues. So I ended up really loving this one. So what this one is, it is a bodyguard romance, and this is between Isaac and Kira. Kira is part of a very rich, controlling type of family. She had a bodyguard previously, but they were like reporting everything to her mother. So she wanted to get a new bodyguard because she also has a stalker that's kind of upping the dangerous kind of stalking behaviors. And so she ends up getting Isaac as her bodyguard. He is an military. He has some PTSD and those type of issues. And so he steps in as her bodyguard. At first they clash. They're like arguing. They're like butting heads and stuff. But immediately they realize they're really attracted to each other. The thing is that Kira is engaged. She's kind of in this forced engagement thing. It's like with one of her childhood kind of sweethearts, but not really sweetheart. You'll see when you read it. And it's kind of for the family, and she needs to marry him in order to get her inheritance. So they're just kind of getting married. They have an open relationship. So in this, you won't feel like she's cheating once she starts to get with her bodyguard, because like he's sleeping with other women. They kind of have an understanding. So once they realize they have this attraction, they basically start to have sex, and it's hot. Now, at first I was annoyed because I'm like, here we go, immediate banging and whatever, but these two really get to know each other. They have a lot of intimate moments together. They even like at one point take this kind of road trip together and spend this quality time. She is actually very smart. She is super intelligent, had accelerated her career. So I think she had like her PhD already, and she's pretty young, and she was a professor of like psychology and stuff. So she actually dealt with these kind of like mental health issues, and he has severe PTSD, panic attacks. You know, he has horrible nightmares from his time in the military. And so there's even an amazing moment where he helps her with her trauma, because she does have a past trauma that she never really dealt with. And I'm not going to bring up what it is or what, but and then she also helps him with his PTSD, and it was just really beautiful, like that scene of them working through it, and they do it like in a different type of way that I really found interesting. And I just really enjoyed this, because even though they were having sex super fast, they were like falling for each other during that sexual relationship and really getting to know each other on a deeper level. And that's what you need to do with the book in order for me to be invested in them as a couple. Otherwise, it's just sex and I'm bored. So I really liked this one. There is a twist at the end on who the stalker is. It was really, exciting at the end. And I just really loved this couple and how supportive they were for each other. So I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving this one 5 stars, and for chilies, because it is very spicy. Trigger warnings I have in this are the trauma, OCD. She does suffer from OCD and stuff, so she does deal with that. PTSD and panic attacks. This was narrated by Sean Masters, who did such an amazing job. He was so passionate in like the flashbacks or like his nightmares, and then also like just in his scenes where he was going through the work they did on his PTSD when they do that certain scene. I'm being vague because I want you to see what it is when you read it. I just thought he was so passionate in this, and like I could feel the emotion. I thought he did such a fantastic job. And then we have Michelle Sparks. So loved it. I was very pleasantly surprised, and I really want to read more from this author. Okay, so then I had a quick little novella that was kind of fun to end out my month of April. And this was The Beastly Crown by Ines Johnson. This is the first time reading this author. And this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, kind of set in a fantasy world. And I thought that with it being a novella, there was a really good world building, and it was fun and spicy and a good time. So I really enjoyed this one for what it was. This is between Adam and Belle. And this kind of beast thing was like, Adam was born, he basically got cursed because his parents had like a forbidden love. I think the mom was like the kind of like a lion shifter, and the father was like human. And so the gods basically cursed him for their love. And so when he was born, he was kind of born stuck in between a lion and a human form. So he was beastly. And in order to break this curse, he has to marry this fae princess that the gods have chosen. And so he is set up with this arranged marriage, about to get married to her. And he wants to meet her ahead of time, like right before she goes into the castle, to kind of, let her see him, because, people are freaked out by him, and just to kind of have that original meeting. And on the way there, the princess is with her mother and Belle. And Belle is actually kind of like the head seamstress. Like she moved up and became like the seamstress and everything. And she actually created the wedding gown. So she's very excited because this wedding gown is going to be in a huge event. It's going to help her with her career and really put her on the map. Well, the princess starts to freak out when she has to do this secret meeting with him, and she runs. She bails. And so now Belle is kind of forced to pose as his future wife because the mom's like, we'll get her back in time for the wedding. Just wear this veil, go meet him, and whatever. And so she does have this original meeting with him, and she's not disgusted by his beastly form. She's very intrigued by him. They kind of have an attraction. And so things kind of go from there because they're going to have some issues getting the princess back. And so her and, the beast are going to get it on. So I love this because it does have the sex while he's in beast form, which I love. I know I'm weird, but I love that. I love it when it's a Beauty and the Beast and they screw when he's the beast. So anyways, I had a great time with this. It does introduce, I think the next book is going to be about the Fae Princess because she has a storyline going on and she was a pretty strong, badass character. She just didn't want to marry the beast. So I had a good time with this one. It was fun. It was quick and a good time. And if you're looking for a quick novella, I believe it's on Kindle Unlimited and it was fun. So I ended up giving that one 4 stars and then 2.5 chilies. Okay, so now on to my Mafia reads for the week so far. I'm in the middle of, I think, 2 or 3. Yeah, I think I'm reading 3 Mafias right now. So we'll be getting those this next week. I don't know how many Mafia books I'm going to read to finish this up for, but I really do want to hit that Donna level and try and black out my bingo board. So we'll see. I still have some ALCs I have to get to this week too. So we'll see how it goes. But anyways, the first book that I have for the Mafia Readathon was Craving Danger, and this is by Michelle Hurd. I ended up buying this on audiobook because I was recommended the 4th book in the series for my 12 Recs from 12 Friends, so I want to get to these previous books first. This is the 2nd book in the Kings of Mafia series. And this is between Franco and Samantha. And I thought this one was very unique because it's basically a mafia romance, but set in an office boss employee type of feeling here. And in this, we have Samantha, and she is actually Franco's newer assistant, and he's kind of an asshole boss. He treats her like crap. He doesn't really think she's good enough. She's trying to prove that she's, can work hard and be there, but he's demanding her stay later hours. And so it's just this kind of, complicated thing. She has no idea that he runs this business because it's one of their legitimate businesses. And then he's also the head of the Cosa Nostra. And she has no idea. He actually happens to also run this kind of sex club situation. It's kind of hard to explain because she goes to the sex club, but it's not to have sex. They offer other things. And she is actually going there because she has had a previous sexual trauma and assault, and she is very uncomfortable being alone with a man. And so she is just kind of paying them to have her be able to sit in a room with somebody, a man, and talk with them. And there's no sex or touching or anything. It's just so she could slowly start to get used to this. Now he runs this club and he happens to see his assistant there, and he's like, what the hell is she doing here? And so he's kind of watching in on what's going on. And one of the guys that goes in decides not to listen to the rules and touch her and make her uncomfortable. And so Franco basically busts in there. He's wearing a mask, so she doesn't know who it is. And he kind of gets him out of there and sits with her and talks her through it. And so she really feels safe with him and comfortable with him. So she keeps wanting to come back and talk to him, and then maybe just talk to him outside of things. So he'll visit her place, and they are doing so she's really kind of falling for the guy in the mask, having no idea that this is actually her boss, who she hates, who treats her like crap. So he definitely makes a turn real quick on the way he views her, and he really wants to protect her. He's very possessive over her, but she has no idea who he really is. So it's a very hidden identity. And then what's going to happen once she finds out who he really is? Not only that, it's her boss, but the fact that he runs the Cosa Nostra, which will come into play here. So I really liked this. It didn't blow me away or anything. I listened to it in a day. I loved the audiobook. It was really good. So I had a good time with it. I thought it was a decent one. And I gave this one 4 stars and then 2.5 chilies. Okay, so then I listened to Ruthless Prince by Faith Summers. This is the first book in the Dark Syndicate series. This one is currently available on Audible Plus, so that's why I wanted to pick this one up. I did this one because it's like Italian mafia. It had a captive. It is like a forced marriage. It's got ruthless in the title, so I got some good stuff on here. So this one is between Massimo and Amelia, and Massimo is basically going to force Amelia into a marriage with him. She was planning to like go abroad for like to be an artist and all this stuff, and her father was going to let her, even though her father is part of the mafia. But her father basically ruined Massimo's father's life and like made things really bad for them. So his revenge is to basically kind of force this marriage, and he gets the father in a position where he basically kind of has to let his daughter marry him, and she wants nothing to do with it, and he kind of pulls a gun out and basically captures her. So she's kind of held captive in his place for a while until they're going to get married. And so it's a captor-captive situation. But of course she has this insane attraction to him, and he starts to kind of woo her a little bit. I don't know. It happens pretty quickly where they start hooking up and they have a sexual relationship, connection, all that kind of stuff. So this one was good. I liked the original setup in the beginning, but then it kind of fell apart for me because there was so much like over the top craziness and twists at the end. And then her father ends up being this like very mustache twirly, like over the top villain. And you know, it just was a lot happening. There's like other woman drama thrown in there that I thought she's kind of too stupid to live at points. So it just got to be a little much. So I did think it had promise, but it just kind of fell off for me. I do think it's a good audiobook. If I wasn't listening to an audiobook, I probably wouldn't have liked it this much. I mean, I didn't love it, but it was okay. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. And 3 chilies. So it was decent. It was okay. Nothing amazing about it or anything, but it was okay for the readathon. Okay, so then I finally finished my arc. So I was reading this for a few days. And this was Wicked Savage by Lilian Harris. This is the 4th, I believe, and final book in her Savage King series, which is her Irish Mafia. And in this, we have Killian and Dinara's romance. Now, this has been teased in the previous book, so I was really excited to get to this because Killian and Dinara were kind of like enemies. They obviously had some past situation going on, a previous relationship that kind of went bad, but now they were going to be forced into like an arranged marriage that was kind of revealed in the previous book. So you already know that going in, so you know this is going to be a second chance romance and everything like that. So in this, it actually takes you back to when they originally met many years ago. And they actually met at Constantine's sex club. Constantine is the head of the Bratva. He has a sex club where they wear masks and all this kind of stuff. And Constantine is actually her cousin, and she lives with him because her father was psycho and evil and went against Constantine. And her siblings live with Constantine now. She actually watched her father kill her mother. So she's got a lot of trauma, hatred for her father and everything. So she ends up going to the club. Constantine lets her go. She's 18, I believe. And she runs into Killian there and they have instant attraction. Although he tries to stay away from her because he could tell she's pretty young. And I think he was like in his 30s. So he tries to kind of stay away from her, but he's really possessive and doesn't want anybody around her. So he ends up kind of messing around with her that night. And they really hit it off, and they have sex. She was like a virgin and everything. And so he decides, we can't let this end here. I want to see you. Gets her number, and he's pretty like aggressive about it. She doesn't know if she should even really do that, because she wasn't fully telling him who she was. He wasn't fully telling her who he was either. So they don't really have any idea about each other's like ties to the mafia. And this is going to lead to issues because Constantine is her cousin, and her family, somebody in her family was actually the one that killed his mother and like burned her alive, like killed her. So when, her and Killian really hit it off, they're dating, he's really wooing her, it's really sweet, but then he's going to find out who she really is. And he can't handle it, and he can't get past the fact that her family was responsible for his mother's death, and so he wants nothing to do with her. But he's still obsessed with her, still possessive of her, like stalking her, won't let anybody else date her. So she really gets her heart broken, and then stuff happens, I won't say, but that leads her to kind of leave for a few years. And now she has returned. And when she returns, Constantine basically sets up this arranged marriage, because Constantine is kind of like this mastermind manipulator, but also kind of sees things and is ahead of people and everything. And he wants their families to come together and with a marriage. And he always knew like they should be together. So he's kind of doing this. And it forces them to come together. Now, Killian was already like regretting his choice and wanting her, but he can never find her. And now she's back. And so he is determined to make her his wife. So that's kind of where we're at with this. I really did enjoy this, but I thought that the pacing was weird. And the structure and everything, because we already knew in the previous book that they were going to have this arranged marriage. And we spent I feel like over 60% of the book in the past. And I felt like it was drawing that out a little too long. Like I was like, let's get to the current timeline. Let's get to the current stuff. I wanted to get to that quicker, within like 30%. And then spend the current timeline of them like coming back together. But it was like, most of the book was in the past, and then everything rushed at the end. So, because there is her danger of her father and her brother have been after her and her siblings for years and trying to come after Constantine. So there's that whole like suspense element that comes into play. I did love the second chance. I love their chemistry. I thought they were really great together. I just wished that we got to the arranged marriage sooner and the current timeline sooner. So that was like my only complaint. Otherwise, I really enjoyed it. It was good. It was a typical Lilian Harris possessive alpha man that's over the top obsessed with his woman. So if you love that kind of thing, you're going to really like this. I do think the second chance was good. Just wanted the current timeline sooner. So I ended up giving that one 4 stars and 3.5 chilies. So that was my week so far. Well, not so far. That was my week. Oh my God. Anyways, I'm just all over the place. I have so much reading to get done. Honestly, like I'm not even going to be filming my April wrap up today like I usually would, because I have so much reading and stuff to do. So I'm hoping I'll get that filmed maybe Monday. And then, that way I can get my wrap up and stats to you later this week. We have been having reading sprints this whole week. Everybody's like, every day we have reading sprints going on. Mine are actually going to be on Tuesday and Thursday, I think. I know for Tuesday for sure. I have to remember the schedule. I think it's Tuesday and Thursday. I'll have reading sprints on my channel. So hopefully it's going to work and go off without a hitch, because I finally got Starlink internet, you guys. It came. I have internet. That's like faster than what I was dealing with, at least. So I'm hoping I'll be able to do my live show without any issues. Fingers crossed. So anyways, hope you join us for those reading sprints. Even if you're not doing Mafia Readathon, join us for the live. All the other hosts are doing them too. So you can join, get some reading done. It really helps me stay focused and get reading. And it's always fun just to chat about book stuff too. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. As always, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave me a like, comment down below. Let me know if you read any of these books or what your favorite book was this week. And I will see you guys on the next one.